Come on, Bessie. Here we go. All right, guys. Good evening. 8:38 on our, we're 8:39 now. Thursday evening? Thursday evening. I'm 10 News Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. That's meteorologist Rick Careby next to me right now.
Hi.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about Dorian.
Everybody's talking about it. You know, I just got back from dinner and all the gas stations. Everybody's buzzing around town, and everybody's wants to know, Bobby.
There's no water left. Food's running,
Right.
you know. Some of the canned stuff's running low. Gas stations are running out of gas. The timing now has pushed back, so we still have really until Monday, it looks like now, before we start to see the main effects from this. So this is what happened during Irma as well, too, where we saw a lot of people just rush the stores, rush the gas right away, and then we had time to actually ship stuff in because we're not going to see any bad weather.
You know, it's another good reason to have that hurricane plan in advance and that prep, you know, because then you don't have to deal with that extra stress.
Absolutely. And remember, you've got water coming out of the tap right now.
It's a good point.
It's clean water.
Right.
You don't need the bottled water. You don't need that stuff right now. I mean, yeah, you need some containers, and that's what
Right.
you're basically buying. But, you know, we also suggest you use Ziploc bags, big Ziploc bags filling up with water, and you put them in the freezer. And then that way they'll freeze, of course, they'll be ice. If you lose power, they act as ice in your freezer to help keep everything cold. And if they do melt, or if you do need water, take them out, they'll melt. It's clean water. You took it right out of your tap to make it in the first place.
Yeah, so you're going to want water, you know, potentially in an emergency to, you know, wash your hands, brush your teeth, all those kinds of good things. I know there are drink options besides water, of course. I'm sure you can find plenty of Powerade and stuff like that, but water can be a precious resource, no doubt about it.
All right, now that we got you here, let's talk a little bit about the storm itself. All right, so here we are now. In fact, you know, I'm going to start with this 3D view of it right here. Let's just do that. This is a 3D fly of it earlier today. And you can see it's looking more and more like a pretty decent hurricane shape-wise. There's a little bit of outflow on most of the quadrants. There's still a little bit of shear on the backside, but not a lot now. You're seeing back in this area over here. You're seeing still a little bit of outflow here, so that's pretty good. And it looks pretty good all the way around. So it's strengthening. It's at 85 mile per hour winds. That hasn't changed much during the day today. But it is forecast to change later tonight and tomorrow, just kind of gradually continue to increase in intensity. Now you can see Puerto Rico down here. This thing is about 350 miles or so northwest of San Juan. So out of the way. And having said that, they are still seeing some pretty decent rains. I mean, that's tropical moisture across parts of St. Croix, St. Thomas, and Puerto Rico earlier today, although a lot of that rain now is starting to fall apart. So look at this track, guys, because earlier this week, the 2-day to 3-day forecast had it going like this. And look where it went.
Yeah, and some farther south than that. Some had it going over Hispaniola, maybe falling apart, and way north,
Yeah, that was only 2 days out.
Right.
So, it is a small storm. So I've kind of measured the outside here. Literally 120 miles, I mean, the main core of it. Hurricane force winds only extend out 15 miles from the center. So you're going to see some crazy numbers. You're going to see a Cat 4, 130 mile per hour winds forecast. Remember, the small center there is where those highest winds are going to be. And so I don't think the storm gets a whole lot bigger. It probably will get a little bit bigger, but it's going to have that highest wind right there near the center. And if it does make landfall in Florida, which is looking like right now, it'll end up being a small area that gets a lot of damage, mainly over on the East Coast. The infrared satellite right now, you can see it's a pretty decent looking storm right now. We're looking at all the different quadrants. You're seeing good outflow, and overnight they tend to flare up, and this one seems to be doing a little bit of that too. All right, guys, here it is. Now this is key, these forecast models. So they say waiting on a hurricane is like waiting on a turtle, because you're just, I mean, this has been pushed back timing-wise, but this turn right now moving to the north and the west here, but this turn right in here, when does that happen, and how much does it turn to the west-northwest? There's a high pressure sitting out over here now. There's going to be another one that builds in from the north. That'll sit up there, and then that's going to kind of help it to go and then turn and then come back up around that high pressure. That's the thinking now. Less of a thought that it could have something that just barrels right across the state. Oh, sorry, let me get back in here for you. Less of a thought like we were thinking yesterday, where a lot of the models were just doing one of these things and then up like that.
The Euro was doing that,
maybe something like that, Now, and this has been the change today, guys. Look at all these models that are in this turn to the north. Oh, look, we just got updated data. Not useful data, but actually, here we go. We're getting some new data in right now. You see these curves? This is great news for Southwest Florida and even perhaps for Tampa. is still bad news for whoever gets landfall, because it looks like it is still trying to make some sort of landfall over there on the East Coast. And that, again, life-threatening storm surge is what the Hurricane Center, that's the language that they're using for that. Now, here's the official forecast track as of 5 p.m. this evening. Remember, we're going to get another one at 11 p.m. tonight. Of course, we'll have that for you on 10 News. Gradual strengthening tomorrow afternoon this time. Category 3 storm, major hurricane, 115 mile per hour winds. Saturday afternoon, 125. Sunday, 130. Now, this is the big change. Monday, 130, but still offshore Monday afternoon. Now approaching land, getting closer to a landfall.
That's really slowed down, though.
That's really slowed down.
Yeah.
And so, and what happens is when these storms turn, they do that. They will slow down when they turn. So, the kind of a double-edged sword here, as I mentioned, for Tampa, what's going to happen is the worst weather, even at landfall, is going to be on this side of it. If it's coming in like that, let me draw a picture here. Here's your eye wall. There's your winds. Your winds are blowing offshore on one side, onshore on the other, right? So the area that's going to be on the north side of this is going to get the worst wind. It's going to have the worst rain as well. If it does something like this, like the models are saying, worst wind and rain is here. Okay, not to the left of that
So
line.
good for Tampa Bay.
So that's good for Tampa Bay, right? And if you're wondering why, we're based here out of Tampa, that's why we're mentioning Tampa Bay here.
Right.
But that's the forecast, and that's the change in the timing too. So what you're looking at here is when we expect the onset of tropical storm force winds, which means winds 39 to 73. But this, for all our purposes, basically means 39 and above. Okay, they will start, and this has changed, by 8 p.m. Sunday over on the East Coast. Now, that was Saturday night, yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay, this has slowed down almost 24 hours. And then that means over in the Tampa area, it would be Sunday or Monday morning, Labor Day morning, we would start to see the winds increase. Okay, and that's as it's coming on shore. Now, the probability, the chance of seeing those winds, tropical storm force winds in Tampa is 63%. You can see Cape Canaveral, obviously the highest. West Palm as well, too. That's about where we've been throughout the day today. That hasn't changed too much. The chance of seeing hurricane force winds, 17% in Tampa. And obviously, just look at the color shading, the yellow over there. Anywhere from that 40 from West Palm northward, if it came in north of West Palm, you would have the highest winds over there. Probabilities, percentages, they're going to change, but I've been showing you this every night, and that way you can kind of keep up with it here. All right, now let's compare the two models, okay? So, the white is the GFS, the Euro is the yellow. So the Euro model came in this afternoon. We're like, man, the European is drunk.
Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it?
It's crazy, and I'm going to show you. It is kind of a crazy thing, but, it might, what's the saying, crazy as a fox or something like
true.
that? Watch what happens. This is Monday. The European goes southwest through the Bahamas. The GFS kind of continues its west to northwest towards, north of West Palm, maybe up towards Melbourne, south of there, though. It looks like a little bit further south. And then here you go. Now you've got Tuesday. The GFS actually has the center on shore. Talking right in here for the GFS, and meanwhile you've got the European here. So the GFS does this, the European does something like this, and then watch what happens. The European really did something like this, and then just kind of comes right up the coast. The GFS does something like this, and then kind of recurves. But here's the thing: this is Thursday. That's the other thing. Not only does it get over here Monday, Tuesday, but then it takes its time getting up here. So this would not be a very good situation for the East Coast, because you're just raking the wind in here.
A lot of water, too.
A lot of water. The slower it goes, the more rain you get. And so by the time you get to Thursday and to Friday, they ended up almost in the same spot.
And they've got the king tides going there as well.
And so tides have been running high with the lunar cycle that we're in. Yeah. Storm surge now, look, it's a worse problem for storm surge for storms on the West Coast if it's coming in from the West Coast. This is not a storm surge problem as of this point for the West Coast. The East Coast is deeper. The water's deeper, and the shelf is steeper. The West Coast is real flat. You go out 50 miles and you're, 50 miles, you're still 60, 70 feet or so, maybe a little bit deeper than that. But you go out 6 miles off the East Coast and you're over 80, 100 feet in some places. So it's a lot deeper. That can hold more water. That means it's harder to make storm surge, but you can still get it. Having said that, the East Coast could still see 7 to 15 foot storm surge right near the eye wall, the north side of the eye wall, wherever that comes on shore. We just don't know where that is. If it does come on shore with 130 mile per hour winds like it's forecasted now, you're talking easily 7 to 15 foot storm surge. I think it's going to be a small area, but it's possible. There's the the European by Wednesday morning before sunrise. Thursday, I'll back it up a little bit. That's Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, sunrise Wednesday morning, sunset Wednesday night, right over Melbourne, Cape Canaveral, Cocoa. Sunrise Thursday, sunset Thursday evening over Jacksonville. All right? That is costly. That is damage all up and down. You remember Matthew? Mm-hmm. Matthew tried to do this. Matthew tried to do just this. But fortunately, we ended up with a situation where, need something? We're going to be doing this for a while.
No, I just, when you get a chance, just kind of look over this.
Okay, we're going to be doing this for a while. We'll get that in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll look over it. So Matthew was out here in the Bahamas. Lorraine, you remember that. We were watching Matthew. So it was coming closer, and then all of a sudden it jogged like 25 miles off to the east. So Matthew ended up going just off the east coast, and it spared, West Palm especially was going to get nailed by this thing. It really spared them. It went up a little bit more towards Melbourne. But this type of scenario that you're seeing here with the European model would be worst case. Because look, that's heavy wind and storm surge right there in West Palm. That's heavy wind and rain and storm surge in Melbourne, Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, St. Augustine, Jacksonville. Every one of those cities. I think it would be worse down here. But that's just one model. All right?
And that scenario would put much less wind in Tampa Bay.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because we're on the back side of it. We're on what we call the clean side. Much less wind, much less rain.
Yeah.
This is the GFS, and the GFS does come a little bit more. This is the latest run, by the way. Just came out this evening. It goes further west inland near South Florida, West Palm, and then turns, and look at this. It's up over Sarasota, Manatee County, almost Polk County. Eastern Hillsborough for the center. Still, even if that were to happen, the eastern side of this is where the heaviest wind and rain is, even on the north side. So that's some pretty decent wind for us. But it would be weakening, and the heaviest would be in eastern Polk County and over towards
that kind of, not the exact path, but as far as the stronger winds, kind of reminiscent of Irma a little bit, where Polk County and over towards Orange County, where they really got the brunt of that.
Yep,
at this point.
absolutely right. When Irma came through.
Yeah.
And then now, if you're watching from Georgia, if you're watching from the Carolinas, the GFS brings it up the coast. If it hugs the coast, once it gets off of Jacksonville, it's going to redevelop a little bit. At least it has a possibility, and that's what the model's trying to show here. So, you're going to you could affect everywhere from Florida all the way up through North Carolina with this particular storm, and then off in the Outer Banks. So, those are just two models here. This is the rainfall from the GFS, and you can see. Well, remember I told you everything along and to the right of the center. That's what we're seeing right there. Rainfall totals in Orlando, this is just one run. The previous run was about 20 inches for Orlando, 3 inches in Tampa. That kind of disparity is what we're going to see. We're going to see, because of the size of the storm and the location, some areas not far from you are going to get a lot of rain, and you're going to get a lot less, depending on what side you are, and the West Coast is a little bit better.
And we already have many areas with active flood warnings, a lot of it. So we've had so much rain this summer.
The first half of August, between August 1st and August 15th, we saw 14, 15 inches of rainfall in some places here in West Central Florida. So the good news is we've had a week and a half, 2 weeks to actually dry out a little bit, and most of the rivers have come back down. But this is going to build them right back up, especially over on the East Coast, and that's going to be a flooding situation.
Yeah.
Recon's been out there. They are out there now. All of that data, guys, is going into the models. And you see this one here. This is the G4 out of Lakeland, as a matter of fact. They're just about coming back. They're flying around the outside of the storm to figure out what the atmosphere is like, and they're also doing balloon soundings to the north as well.
That one plane kind of looked like the Euro model.
It kind of did. It kind of did.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to your questions here a little bit. So, storm has held the strength. It will continue to strengthen. A major hurricane, Category 4, 130 mile per hour winds, is currently the forecast at landfall sometime Monday. So, timing for the landfall has really slowed. Let's give you an extra day, but still, I still say Saturday night by sunset's the best time to really
play it safe.
Yeah. East Coast needs to be prepared for life-threatening risk of storm surge, as I mentioned. And winds. Wherever that eye comes in with 130 mile per hour winds, that's going to be bad. All right, so let me get the video back up here. I think I had something else. We're going to show some models too here, guys. I've got a couple models to show you in just a little bit. But let's look at some questions. Somebody's talking about board up the Millennium Falcon at Disney. Yeah, Disney would not want to be there. It's bad, but I do love this stuff. Yeah, Jake, interesting, but yeah, you just don't want to wish this on anybody, right?
Right.
Not concerned in citrus. Best of luck, East Coast. Yeah. I mean, everybody should be watching it. The GFS is right. It would go maybe closer to Citrus County. But I tell you what, Citrus County was looking worse yesterday in some of the model runs, so it's looking better in Citrus County today.
So what do you think?
So by Monday it will be gone. That's what John says. Well, John, the Hurricane Center says it's 130 mile per hour winds before landfall by Monday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Mindy says they'll know tomorrow afternoon. We will know tomorrow afternoon a little bit more about the turn. Not a lot. I think it's tomorrow night into Saturday morning that we'll see more of a westerly turn.
And there's always that magic moment, right, where we're waiting for that turn to have a better feel for it, and we're definitely watching that with this.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the worst case scenario? Like we're looking for a track more like a couple of days ago when we saw the Euro taking it toward Fort Myers, for example. Is that kind of the worst track for us? Because then we get that right front quadrant where we see the strongest winds and potential tornadoes.
And even heavier rainfall on top of it, too. Yeah, that would be, if it just went straight across, like from West Palm to Fort Myers, that would be the worst case scenario. Well, not worst case scenario for us, but that would be worse for us.
Yeah.
At one point, it was coming from Melbourne to Tampa, which is the center to drag right due west across the state. That's not the case right now.
You know, do keep in mind, even if we just experienced tropical storm force winds, when Irma came through Tampa Bay, for most of us, that's what it was. And that was not fun to go through. So, I mean, just because it's not the worst part of the storm, it could still be something that's going to be a process to go through.
Most of Pasco, Hillsborough, Pinellas, most of Sarasota, Manatee, especially west of I-75, had mainly tropical storm force winds.
Yeah.
We had a few gusts in the 80s and 90s right along the immediate coast on the backside of Irma, but most of that was tropical storm force winds. So I know Polk County got hit harder. They were right by the center, and there's a smaller area. They got it. So that's why we're tracking the center very hard here. All right, so guys, what you're looking at here is one of the other models called the H-Wharf. And this is actually a pretty good model here.
Yeah.
And this is Monday morning at sunrise right there. So you can see what the radar looks like here in the lower right-hand corner. Rain just getting to the coast, wind getting to the coast here on the East Coast Monday morning.
This model, guys, this is just for hurricanes.
Yeah.
So this is a specialized model that the National Hurricane Center runs this, and you like this model.
I do. I like it. It gives you a little bit more data. It's a little bit more high resolution.
Good for radar as well, right?
It's good for, and well, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the structure.
Yeah.
What kind of structures does the model think it's going to have? Very concentric. Although I will say it does seem to be real concentric with it a lot more than what it ends up being.
So for people at home, what does that mean? Just that more powerful wind when it's concentric?
Circle shape.
Right, well, yeah. But I mean, as far as results on the ground,
right, more organized. The more circular it is, basically the more organized it is. The higher wind, the lower pressures, that type of thing.
We always say a system is organized or disorganized. This is a very put together system at this point.
Right, according to this model. Yep. So here we go into sunrise on Tuesday morning. Now, see, this is later, and notice I'm going to back up a little bit. It's actually turning to the northwest and going up towards Melbourne, towards Cocoa.
Doesn't get in very far.
That's Tuesday mid-morning, Tuesday afternoon. Now it's moving over Disney. I mean, that's almost directly over Disney, over Orlando, Tuesday evening. And then notice the eye is filling in here in the lower right-hand corner. The winds are a lot less as well, too. And then we'll go to the track and then we'll look up closer. That's about as far out as it's going to go right now. Let me see if I can get some more data. I think that's probably as far out as it's going to go. Since it got pushed back in time, we're not seeing much. Let's go and let's just look at wind. Okay? So let's back up. And here we are. Now, it's tough. I'll read some of these numbers for you. But some of these numbers are in the teens and low 20s here over in Palm Coast, West Palm area. And now in the mid-20s. The red's in the 40s. The darker red's in the 50s. That white is in the 60s. That other red right in there. Now that, and you can see some of the numbers here are in the 70s. But you're talking near that eye wall, you're getting up there about 105 miles per hour. So you get some of these colors right here, and you see it drops off real fast, just dead in the center.
And maybe the most interesting thing about this
Monday night, by the way, and the Tuesday morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the most interesting thing about this latest run of this model is it's even slower, as you said. We're talking a Tuesday morning landfall.
Well, look,
this model, right?
with the models turning, and you see all the spaghetti plots, those individual models, all those lines starting to turn. Storms slow down usually when they turn, especially if it's going to be a relatively sharp turn. The European has almost more than a 90-degree turn. I mean, it's going southwest down here for the Bahamas and then up the coast. That's at best a 90-degree, maybe a little bit more than that. That's a sharp turn. It almost will stop before it does that, and that's kind of what's happening with the H-Wharf as well. It's sensing a turn, the slowing down of all the models, although a couple of them are going still fast and they almost take it out into the Gulf more. But that slowing down is indicating that the ridge to the north is weakening a little bit, and it's going to allow it to come up. And so the models are sensing that. Now, this is Tuesday afternoon. The winds, by the way, I'm going to back up just a little bit here. Tampa, 15-mile-per-hour winds out of the northwest. Tuesday morning. We do have some gusts. Anywhere around the water, especially on the southern part of the bay, you're going to be in the 20s easily. And then I'd say, looking at this, I'd say the wind's picking up along the immediate coast in the 30s, coming in off the water. Most areas in the 20s to near 30 on land. That's for Tampa area. And then it does get a little bit higher. So somebody said Crystal River, no big deal. Well, you could have 40 to 50 mile per hour winds coming in off the water. It's Crystal River, that could put some water up there.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to watch the Crystal River area, even up to Weeki Wachee, for some water levels to see exactly where it goes. Most areas, this is not a storm surge. It just depends on how strong the wind's going to be. So that's the just another model. I mean, it's just another one of them. Let's go back to here. Show you that again. Let's look at some.
How do you feel, Bobby? We always talk about model consensus. At this point in the game, how do you feel about how the models are in agreement here? Decently, or compared to normal?
Yeah. Well, look. I mean, this part right here is really good agreement.
Yeah, it seems like this spaghetti model plot there.
Leading up to the turn, I will say, just in the last 6 hours, this is starting to get a little messier. Right? That is getting a little bit messier than what it was. So things are going to get interesting. But that's indicating that, the problem for me is some of these are down here now and not up here with the rest. So does it do more like what the Europeans saying? Something like that. But this is the area right here, and this is Saturday and Sunday. Right? So, once it makes the turn, and that's why Recon's out there, that's why we need to know exactly where this thing is. Because when we have that data, we can know where we're starting with. We put that into the models, and all the models will start from the same spot. And then again, look at this model down here. It started, this red pink line here, it started. The center's over here. Okay? It started over here. Right? And so look where it is. It's further over there.
So we call that bad initialization.
Exactly right. Crap in, crap out is what
that is something they teach you meteorology school, right?
Crap in, crap out. I think they use a different word, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They probably use that word. That's what it is.
It works.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to be doing. This is all we're going to be doing on these Facebook Lives and on TV is watching these models, seeing what it looks like, and watching the intensity forecast models.
Yeah, and we're just like you. We're waiting for that data, and we have family as well. We're trying to keep in the know of everything, so we want to know just as much as you do. And so we're waiting for that next set of data, so we have better information to share with you and our families.
So do you guys have any questions? We're looking at the comments right now. If you got any questions, why is it big like that? Hold on, let me get you a closer look. That's why. Didn't switch. Get you zoomed in on those models, guys. Sorry about that. There we go. Get to see all of our computer, all of our graphics there. All right, people putting water in the freezer. Good job. That's a good idea. How about storm surge on the west coast of Pasco County? As I mentioned, Lindsay, I don't think it's a huge deal at this particular point. It's all going to depend, but I don't think it's huge. I definitely could see, a foot or two, 1 to 3 foot, perhaps, in some areas if it's close enough to us. But it's too far out at this point to say that. It's just too far out now to say that. Orlando, you could have the storm come right over top of you. You could have at least 80 to 100 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, Orlando's in an interesting place. Even for a southern tracking storm would be even worse.
Still.
Yeah, Bobby, what's your trick with the quarter and the freezing of the water?
Yeah, that's fantastic. So here it is. So you take a quarter. Oh, I got a nickel. That'll work too. So, and you should do this now, actually, while you still have power.
I think I took your quarter the other day to buy something out of the vending machine.
So you take a coffee mug usually, or a cup, whatever, but a coffee mug. Fill it up with water and stick it in your freezer tonight. Okay? Get it out tomorrow. It'll be frozen, right? Frozen block of ice in there. Take a quarter or a nickel, I say a quarter, stick it on top of the ice, all right, and stick it back in the freezer. It'll stick right on top. It'll be sticking there. Now, if you have to evacuate, or if you want to evacuate, or whatever, if you leave your house and you're gone for, say, maybe 3 or 4 days, you won't know if you lost power necessarily, and you won't know how long. And even if you do, you won't know if the food in your freezer thawed out.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you can go and you have power, you evacuate, and then the storm comes and you lose power for days. You don't come back for 4 or 5 days, and when you come back, maybe the power's turned back on. So you come back into the house, the power's on, you open up the freezer, everything's frozen. Well, it may have thawed out for 2 or 3 days.
Got rotten.
And got rotten, and then refroze, and you won't know. If you come back and the quarter's still on top of the ice, you didn't lose power.
It's a good
It
trick.
didn't thaw. If you come back and the quarter's now down at the bottom of the ice, then it thawed.
Throw that food out.
The quarter sunk to the bottom, and then it refroze, throw the food out.
Yeah. And there'll be a lot of people that do evacuate just to, maybe go to a hotel so then they know they'll
Yes.
have electricity.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly
we
right.
don't know. how strong the winds are going to be. We see power outages. We very well may. We might not see anything.
Right.
But so a lot of people are preparing like that and may be gone from their homes for a while.
Yeah. Yep. And guys, 727-945-6606. That's the number you can text Tropics to, the word Tropics, Tropics. Again, the numbers, I'll type it in the comments here. 727-96606. Man, I hope it's 945.
It's pretty impressive. You got that memorized.
Is that my phone? You pass me my phone, please, right there.
This here?
Oh, no, it's right here.
Oh, your phone.
So the reason why I'm telling you this, guys, is we started a new thing here where you don't really have to go through and look for a bunch of stuff. We actually come right to your phone, and it's information. It's not selling you anything or anything like that. It's not trying to do that. It's just basically like saying, here we go, 945-6606. I got it right.
That is impressive.
Did it go? Yeah, it's sent. Text that number, and then what we'll do is it automatically texts you back several links. And the tip I just showed you about the coffee mug and things like that. There's videos there, all kinds of short videos that you can watch that will help you get prepared. Share that with your friends over on the East Coast, anywhere. I mean, it's just good stuff. It's stuff that is not pertinent to just the Tampa area. It's anywhere where you have a hurricane that could be making landfall.
Yeah, and the 10 News YouTube page has got a lot of great stuff.
Got eggs? Boil them. Very good idea, as a matter of fact. Port Richey, what's going on? Onelia, how are you? Did I say that wrong? Yeah, Cynthia, we do. We have. That's what I'm saying. That's posted on. I can actually post the video on Facebook as well too, the YouTube video, because it's there. Arvin, how are you? Aquino, how are you? Arvin Aquino. The number again: 727-945-6606.
And you have to text Tropics to that number.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. That's right. TROPICS. You know what, Rick? I'm glad you said that. I'll type it right here too. Text. Seven 945. So I actually would recommend it. One of the things that you'll get a link to is our new page too, and it's phone friendly. It's an internet page, a web page, but it's phone friendly, and it has automated track updates and the model updates as well too. And if you page down, it's got all kinds of information like the names of the storms, of course, but evacuation routes. It has the storm zone, the evacuation zones, I should say, storm surge zones. So you can go to your county and find out what your county looks like and see if you're in a storm evacuation zone. Also links to all the counties in our area, so like emergency management, phone numbers, websites, that kind of stuff. If you need to get in touch with somebody, we've spent months going through all that data trying to get it on there. It's a living, breathing document, so it's going to be updated as we go.
Hey, so when do you think we can help people make a decision on whether or not to maybe not make a hotel reservation, but keep it? Because, you're worried about power outages. What do you think? Because I know a lot of people have this decision coming up this weekend probably to cancel or not.
Well, again, here you need to be, if you're going to do this, according to the latest trend, the timing for the Hurricane Center, you need to be in place by Sunday evening. All right? Probably Sunday midday, actually. So you want to check in sometime on Sunday if you're going to be doing that, especially over on the East Coast. Let's check that movie. We got a little bit of warning here. Let's see what that is.
Flood warning update.
Flood warning, okay. Yeah.
On the rivers.
Yeah. Right.
So a lot of them are going to have updates though, or have deadlines of maybe Saturday or Friday. What we're going to
they may
see
be filling up because here's the thing: if you're watching from Tampa, it's not a huge evacuation situation for us. People on the East Coast are packing it in. They're going.
Oh yeah, a lot of those folks are probably coming over here.
Yeah, they're going to be coming over here. They're going to be filling up the hotels. Irma, remember Irma was coming up the east coast of Florida, and then it was coming up the west coast of Florida. That looked bad for us.
Right.
And then it ended up splitting the difference of going right up the middle.
Marco Island.
Right up Marco Island, across the Keys, Marco Island, and straight up over Polk County. Now, 6.5 million people evacuated Florida for Irma. It's the largest evacuation in the history of the state.
Which makes sense because it was scaring everybody.
Well, it had the opportunity to really be bad for a lot of people, both sides of the state.
Right.
We hadn't seen a landfalling hurricane in the state of Florida for almost 10 years leading up to that.
Yeah.
And you know how crowded it is here in Florida nowadays, and it's only getting more crowded. Imagine how many people moved to the state in 10 years prior to Irma.
Right.
So you're also dealing with a lot of people who haven't been through this. A lot of you have probably never been through it. I know it's kind of scary. We talk about it a lot, but one of the things we say is have a kit, have a plan, be ready to go, and that's it, man. It's not going to be, terrible for most areas. It will be terrible if something like that, 130 mile per hour winds, comes on shore somewhere. It's going to be a boatload of storm surge. There's going to be a lot of wind damage right near the center where it comes on shore, but peripheral damage around it won't be quite as bad. And so that's why it's really important to find out where it's going to go. And that's why it's really important, especially if you're on the East Coast now, of having a plan, having a kit, having it ready to go. One thing like generators. A lot of people are buying generators, they're running out of generators. And we always say, out of generators at Home Depot or Lowe's, but they're going to get another shipment, whatever. They never say about extension cords. You need a long extension cord with a generator because you can't put it in your garage.
Right.
You don't want to put it right up against the house. You need to get it away because of the carbon monoxide. So imagine you have the windows open, you've got your generator running, the carbon monoxide be coming in. If it's sitting right by the window, it could be coming in. You need a long extension cord to get it away from the house at least a little bit. And also, and I hate to say it, but you can chain it up because people steal them. You put it out in your driveway because you don't want it in your garage. And somebody drives by and just grabs it, unplugs it, throws it in the back of the truck, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, but it does happen. So they even recommend chaining up your...
Yeah, when the power's out, it's dark at night, and you see stuff like that happen, unfortunately.
FEMA recommends 10 days. That is a long time to be without power, be on your own. But that is the recommendation for the state of Florida, essentially. Ask the people up in the Panhandle when Michael hit last year. They'd say 20 days at least. At least. But 10 days is a long time. It's a good number. West coast of Florida, I don't see it being a major issue like that or anything. But, there are going to be some parts that are hit pretty hard over on the East Coast.
What do we learn tomorrow from today? We're going to see the turn, right? It's a fairly big day.
Tomorrow afternoon, really. I think the gist of the gist of tomorrow, most of it is going to be from here, from where it is now, to here. Tomorrow night.
It just starts to make it.
Just starts to make the turn tomorrow, late tomorrow night.
So we're still talking
Friday
about the turtle
night and
tomorrow.
Saturday is right here. Sunday is there, and that's Monday. All right, Sunday, Monday, right there. That's Saturday, Friday. All right, so this point right here is key. Where's it going to turn? And you'll have the models. We'll have the models for you. We'll throw them up there. I had somebody complain to me today because there's too many models on there, and it's too confusing. Just put the top 5, they said. Well, we show 2 of them. I showed you the GFS and the European. And I show these, and these aren't all like, I can show a lot more than what you're seeing right here. But I show these, and some of them I take off every now and then. Like I got to take a couple of those off, but because I want you to see the overall thinking of the models, and you can see the trends of the models. All right, and that is now a completely different trend than what we have had. Just a big S sitting right there. So, again, I hate to say it, it's a better story for Tampa, but Jacksonville even is going to get it pretty good. In fact, our company's moving people around, that kind of thing. We're sending a lot of resources to Jacksonville, more than our company's nationwide. They're sending some here to help us out, but they're sending twice the amount, more than that, up to Jacksonville. We think they're going to get hit harder than we will here in Tampa. You love my drawing, Lydia. I know, my drawing's hideous. It's with a mouse, you know, but yeah.
A mouse and a digital pencil.
Okay, so any questions, guys? We're going to get off of here. Use your washing machine as a cooler. Fill it with ice. It has a built-in drain. You can definitely do that. People always say put your documents in your dishwasher, but that doesn't always work. You don't want to do that.
I guess the
It's
drain
not-
could come back into it and
Yeah.
put dirty water in there. And,
Well, it's not even watertight. If you had deep enough water, some water could get in.
true. Someone mentioned about flights out of Tampa this weekend. Flights are probably fine through Saturday and Sunday, would you say, out of Tampa?
Yeah, so here's the deal with flights. We've heard that Continental, I think, is adding more flights into the area to help people get out. Okay, now what airlines do is they start pulling planes out of the way. MacDill did it today. They got their tankers out at MacDill Air Force Base today, right? They learned their lesson from Michael up there when Hurricane Michael hit the Air Force Base. I mean, just all kinds of planes can handle all kinds of wind when they're flying. They can't handle it tied down on the tarmac.
Right.
It's dangerous for the planes. So they're out of here. Now the same thing with airlines, but airlines are going to be in and out, all the time. What's going to happen eventually is they're going to start pulling planes out of airports and canceling flights into the airports. Like Orlando, I think, will be one of the hardest hit ones if it takes like this. West Palm, and then maybe eventually up even into Jacksonville. So we're telling people Saturday night, we're trying to get people in to wherever you want to be by Saturday night. Likely will still be okay for Sunday, at least the first half of Sunday. But weather's going to go downhill Sunday night into Monday. So they're going to want to be getting those planes out of there by Sunday afternoon. All right, so that I still say Saturday is probably the best bet if you're trying to do anything.
So
like
yeah,
that.
fly for this weekend. The earlier in the weekend, the better.
Yeah. So what about Clearwater? We just don't know yet, but again, we're not thinking it's huge. If you probably missed the models we showed, one of the models was showing 30, 40 mile per hour winds, maybe a couple hour gusts, if that, out of the north, which is generally is a negative storm surge for us if it blows water out of the bay.
Oh, so let's bring that story up from Irma. Remember what happened when it blew the water out of the bay?
Yeah.
We had manatee.
Manatee got stranded there. People
Yeah.
walking out on the bay. Very likely could see the same setup again here.
Wow.
It looks very similar. Now, if we get more of a northwest wind, there could be some water up into Apollo Beach. If the timing is right and there's still water in there, enough water, then we could blow a little bit of a surge up into Apollo Beach on a northwest wind on the backside. And that would go also for Tarpon Springs and Weeki Wachee and eventually Crystal River, but we just don't see that right now enough. It's too far out. And I mean, look at the models that you're looking at
Right.
here. We're way too far out for any kind of surge talks. Although, other than it's not a major surge for us because it's coming in on the East Coast and not the West Coast. Do you think Citrus is getting hit harder? It's going to depend. Harder than Tampa, maybe if it takes a track like that, since the center goes closer to Citrus County. But we still a lot to say. Sanibel looks pretty good, honestly. Sanibel is probably pretty good. In fact, may not even get much rain in Sanibel if it goes up over Orlando. Brandon looks pretty decent as well too. All these same places. All right, guys, we're gonna get off of here now. Don't forget my page, Bobby Deskins, Rick Kirby's Facebook page as well too. We're gonna be here through the weekend.
So we'll be teaming up. We'll be with you guys here
Yep.
right through the storm.
Yep, tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. We really think it's going to be Monday that we end up having the worst effects here in the Tampa area, but the timing will likely change. I do see a Miami question here. I think the Stones are playing in Miami this weekend. It's
Oh, wow.
and that was already postponed. I think it was moved for something else. So that's going to have to be watched. I haven't heard anything on that yet, but that will have to be watched, especially with the latest model runs coming in further south.
There was it who was playing in Jacksonville, one of the college football games tomorrow, and they moved it?
FSU.
FSU, so they
FSU
moved
was
that
going
west?
to Tallahassee. Is it Tallahassee?
I think so.
Where were they playing? They were,
Tallahassee?
Yeah.
And they
moved
probably...
the time up too.
where was the game scheduled to be?
Jacksonville.
In
Jacksonville,
Jacksonville. Yeah. They moved it up to noon. Canceled all the tickets. They moved it up to noon. $10 a ticket. You can buy them online, and it's open seating. There's no reserved seating. So yeah, that actually, people are gonna have fun doing that. All right, guys. Thank you, Robin. See everybody saying thank you. I appreciate you guys joining tonight. Tierra Verde.
Hey,
Tierra
my neighbor.
Verde.
Who is that?
Yep.
EJ Zach Mahoney.
Yep, there you go. So, guys, right now this is not necessarily a West Coast storm. Again, ballpark 30, 40 mile per hour winds, a little bit of rain, so it's too early to tell.
Yeah, for details like Tierra Verde, places like that, we're just going to have to see how the storm tracks, and we got a long way to go for that,
Yeah.
to give you anything that's useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 days out at least?
Oh, I think I mean Tierra Verde. It's God's country.
Yeah. It is. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll be on air at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tonight, excuse me. And you can, if you're not watching the TV, you can actually download our app, 10News WTSP, in the App Store. You stream it. It's a free app. You can stream it from the app wherever you are. And it's a great way to keep up with all the information.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. We will see you, 10 News Facebook page will be very, very active.
Yep.
I'll be on mine, and we'll be doing this a couple times throughout the day tomorrow as well, too, all the way through the storm.
Yep.
All right, guys.